Welcome to Out of My Mouth, the program where raw thoughts meet unfiltered conversations.
Join us as we dive into the depths of human experience, where we share stories, perspectives, and insights that just might challenge the status quo.
Get ready to laugh, cry, and ponder the world around you like never before. This is Out of My Mouth.
The views and opinions of our guest and hosts do not necessarily reflect those of New Thought Media Network, or any organization we may be affiliated with. Here at New Thought Media Network, we welcome freedom of speech and courageous conversations. There are many topics that can be difficult to navigate. Challenging the status quo and engaging in lively debate is important to expanding our understanding of one another, and life in general. Creating a peaceful world doesn't happen because no one disagrees, it happens from a willingness to understanding one another. In our programming, we strive to expand consciousness and assist people in creating remarkable lives. Your comments are welcome at info@ntmedia.org.
Welcome to Out of My Mouth here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm Barbara Jean, and I'm so excited to be here with you today as we share these incredible conversations that go to amazing places. But let's begin with the land acknowledgement. In the spirit of reconciliation and peace, we are grateful for the opportunity to meet on these sacred lands. We thank the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. We recognize our oneness, we realize our history, and we choose to create a new reality. We are one. Miigwech. Well, my guest today is the remarkable Reverend Jenn Shepherd. She's a dedicated spiritual leader with a rich background in history, religious studies, and education. She joined Unity in Edinburgh in 2014 and has been serving as the spiritual leader since 2017. With a BA in history from Penn State and additional studies at Mercyhurst College, Jenn brings a wealth of knowledge to her role. Her professional journey includes over a decade of teaching 7th and 8th grade history and science. No, just kidding, which has shaped her approach to ministry and teaching. Jenn is also the co-founder of Bolts of Love, a program that fosters inclusion and healing by bridging the gap. I love that. So she's bridging the gap between traditional church communities and those who identify as spiritual but not religious. Passionate about integral studies, inclusion, healing, spiritualism, new thought, and self-empowerment, Jenn holds certifications in Qigong healing, grief education, integral ministry, and she is recognized as a spiritual healer. She actively participates in teaching spirituality, self-development, healing, and mediumship at Unity in Edinburgh. So welcome, Jenn.
Hello.
You busy girl. Tell me a little bit more about Bolts of Love.
Bolts of Love. Bolts of Love started, it's been over 10 years now, from a conversation. And it was a conversation because at that time, I thought that if you were part of a spiritual community, everybody cooperated and everybody got along and everybody helped each other. And I was newly ordained and I was like, yay. And I took myself to extra classes to come back and help everybody, and not knowing, I just didn't know. And a couple of friends of mine understood the dynamics of people a little bit better than I did at the time.
Yes.
And we had this conversation about, what's up with that? And it went to, well, maybe everybody just needs bolts of love, we just need to send the love and everybody will get it right. And then it turned into a funny image of like this Zeus-like character in the universe just whacking everybody.
With bolts of love.
Yeah. So that crazy conversation led to why can't we cooperate and collaborate instead of compete? If we're discovering ourselves and we really want to be part of the one, then let's practice being part of the one.
That's
So
a conversation I've been having for a while.
but it opened up the doors to meet a ton of new people. People came to this little. We started off in a little back room of a Whole Foods co-op, just inviting anybody that wanted to come and have conversations. We, expanded that to a little bit of a speaker series, but the speakers were not name people. It was, share your truth, share where you're at. Let's have a conversation about it, see what we can learn from each other. And then it's just kind of morphed over time to whatever it's needed to be.
Yeah, and it's interesting right now when we look at the world around us. I mean, there was an announcement that came out in the US a while ago about loneliness being an epidemic. And I think, when you take a look at that idea of bolts of love, it's like, the started all with COVID, where people were, stuck inside, couldn't get out. Now they can get out, but it's like they don't.
It's
And I think
hard.
that, the loneliness maybe has led to depression, or even just the fear is so great still that because that was so traumatic, people dying left, right, and center. I think it was really difficult during the pandemic for people to even imagine. And now, of course, so many people talk about going back to what was. I want life to return to normal. Well, it can't, because number one, normal doesn't exist, and number two, we're going forward into something we just don't know.
Yeah, it's always forward, right? I think with just being home with the pandemic, and then some of the divisiveness. I mean, it seems like it became like more of an either or. People forgot how to come to the middle sometimes. I remember, ancient history ago in college, I was the only girl in a history class in the history program. I mean, now I'm sure it's not that way, but at the time, that's what it was. And, debating. And I can remember the idea of the debate is you read, you learn, you discover, you put yourself into how you understand things, and then you find ways to present that. But the other part of that was really listening when somebody else was talking, and then knowing how that fit with what you thought the same information was, and then coming together somehow it didn't mean we always agreed by a long shot, but there was that middle ground for conversation. And I just I think of that a lot, because I don't always see that people have the skills for that, especially the young. I mean, I have teenagers still at home, so what they tell me comes back from school sometimes. I was like, really? Why?
Why are they still like that? That's how they were when I went to school, 5 years ago.
Why? So and I think that just got exasperated when you're home alone and separated, because you don't have that extra input on even to see how it feels with you at all, because you have your input and then what you like for your input.
And it's really I think created a lot of challenges socially for us to try to find a new way of integrating, because we have to come back together. And getting people to do that, it really feels like a real pull to try and get anybody out. And I'm just wondering how do we support people when we can't get them out of their homes? And it's great that we've got online, but we really need to connect. And this is part of a connection, but it's a little different if you can see somebody you haven't seen for a week and give them a hug and have a face-to-face conversation, which, that's where we need to get back to that.
Yes.
In person.
It's learning, it's teaching ourselves how to be comfortably uncomfortable again.
I love that conversation. getting comfortable with discomfort.
Yeah.
Because we're going to be uncomfortable for a long time, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Things
And that, I mean, that's how we grow anyway, whether we like it or not. Discomfort is,
that's
you
the
know,
growing edge.
yeah, if we play with the discomfort and then we have a chance to do more, be more.
Yeah, absolutely. Now you do some, the topic today is discernment of self to discover your
Mhm.
purpose. Tell me a little bit about, that work. That sounds interesting.
Yeah. So right now, a lot of it's based in what. Let me just start over. The art of discovery sometimes has been so spiritualized that
Yeah.
I don't know that we understand what it really is. It's like, but the discovery is really that uncomfortable process, but being uncomfortable with you,
Yeah.
with me, and discovering. Um, in the art of quantum living, they call it awareapy instead of therapy.
Oh, I
So,
like
yeah,
that.
so it's like it's being, it's tools and aspects and learning your own values, learning your own passions. I mean,
Mhm.
I know, at least for me, to try to explore my own passions growing up was difficult because it was not what my family group's passions were a lot of times. I
Yeah,
mean, I was
exactly.
a reader. I like science and the stars. I was a sci-fi kid. I was pretty geeky. My family was not that. They weren't bad people. They just weren't that. You
Yeah.
know, and a lot of us, I think, you know, we feel a little off sometimes, either in our friend group or our family group,
Yeah.
and we just think, or we take on these stories about ourselves that we're either not good enough or not worthy enough or we're odd enough, or what we like needs to be put on the side so that we can do the job or do what we're supposed to do. And
Supposed to do,
yeah,
yeah.
all the supposed to's. And yet,
It's in the
yeah, so it's helping people reconcile that in a way that doesn't demonize their past or what stories they took on.
okay, yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes we're like, oh, I have to do my shadow work. And then we turn all that into something's bad about us. And yet it's just, how did we at a young age take on that nobody in my family wanted to read the same books as me, or you were told this or that by, whoever that probably didn't understand that you were taking things on in a certain way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that self-discovery, that awareness,
I
that's
love
yeah, that's
What's the name of that book? Was it The
oh,
Art of
it's
Discernment?
the art of quantum living. It's a system that it takes science and our spirituality and our history, and it's a lovely program that allows to look at the shadow work. And I'm certified as a coach in it, and it was developed by Dr. Jane and Gary Simmons.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know. I know. Jane Simmons married me.
Oh,
Me
so
and my husband.
yeah, they're lovely people, and they
They
did a
really.
ton of compiling of all the different ways that we can approach, safely, um, getting to know ourselves,
Yeah.
and then have a system to, even day by day, if something hits us and we're uncomfortable, to actually look at that and see, well, what's in the discomfort that's lovely and not terrible. What's our discomfort telling us about us? Is it that I need to go do something because that it's hit me in a way that I can put feet to that and actually do a thing? Is it
Mhm.
because it clicked something in me that said, oh, well, i don't I don't feel worthy in this instant, or I don't feel loved, or I don't feel accepted or safe, and why is that? And how do I manage that with myself? So, I mean, that's the first part, is that
That's awesome because once you know or accept, it's not that we don't know who we are, it's we've decided who we are is not good enough or whatever, given the messages we received. So how does that then assist us in finding our purpose?
Well, I mean, that would be the purpose then, right? So when we are good with ourselves, we embrace who we are. I mean, we're here to be, right? We're here to be human. We're here to have an experience, you know, and then in that discovery, then what are your special talents? So there's an exercise that's easy. Do you mind if I share it?
No, go ahead. That'd be great.
So so for you, if you were to think of two people, they can be fictional or historical or in your present life, you know, whatever, that you really admire. Can you come up with two of those? And then what are the characteristics about those people that you admire?
Wow. Those are good questions.
Yeah. So what puts them in the admire category for you?
For me, it's both of them are women, powerful women. It's their tenacity, their the success they've created, even against all odds, because of who they are. They've had challenges that would make it difficult. But I think that's, for me, it's that willingness to really step out and be seen, and really, tenacity, courage, power, strength. Because people like Oprah is one of them that, I sort of connect with, and Maya Angelou is another that, for me, are just, straight shooters. And then I just love the Fillmores. When I read the letters of, all of a sudden her first name left me. Myrtle Fillmore. I just get so excited. I love her letters. They're like no BS in there at all, man. You write me about this, I'm going to write you how to get that straight, get your head straight. And it's like, she's just wonderful, but there's a tenacity to that in the way that she presents it. But at the same time, it's very loving, but it's very clear.
Right. So I heard you say loving, tenacity, power, and courage.
Yes.
Okay. So if you take those four, the only way, they're a mirror for you, these people. So those four characteristics are characteristics that you hold. Whether we honor that in ourselves right now or not, right? So to realize that, to witness something that we really, really like, it's kind of like witnessing something we really, really don't like. Well, why don't we like that? It's like a little bit of opposite game, but the things that you really, so to know that those four things, to play with the idea that that's a starting point, that those are things, those are characteristics that you have come here to express, to learn about, to be. And then how does that manifest in your life? So it's not, I've come here to have a podcast. No. I've come here to be, powerful and courageous. I've come here to be loving and show tenacity. And how is that being expressed? Those core elements.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think between my ministry and the shows that I'm doing, I think most of those show up there, and the courage, that one I've managed a few times, doing all sorts of things that some people would think were ridiculous, but, like flying to Toronto with 2 suitcases of summer clothes and $40 to start a church that didn't exist.
That's courageous.
That's courageous. Yeah, no house, no job, just hop on a plane with a one-way plane ticket and see what happens.
I love that.
Yeah, that was a courageous act. It didn't feel courageous at the time. It felt like I must do this now. It was like a really loud push from the universe, and it didn't feel like it was optional. It was just what had to happen.
I love that feeling of not optional.
Yeah.
To discover those as well, and to know that that's your connection in the moment. That's so beautiful.
Yeah.
That your talents are saying they have to be expressed right now. They're bursting to just shine out.
Got to do something here. We can't leave it. Yeah.
Got to move. Yeah. So it's yeah. So it's helping people find those things, and like if we go back to the conversation we started with, it's just, I think people are really starting to explore that again, because they do want to get out of their house. They do want to do the thing, but they're trying to figure out who they are in the process to even do that.
Mm-hmm. Where do I go? What do I do? I know one of my sons is, trying to figure out what next. He's finding his way. And there's not much you can do for somebody else other than listen. And, but he's in between work right now and going, I don't know. And he lives in a small town in Nova Scotia. So it's not, like being in a bustling city where there's many opportunities. There's fewer, but you only need one.
Only need one. And it doesn't have to, it doesn't have to look like what anybody else thinks it needs to look like for success.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. I think that's one of the big things too, is how we really want people to approve of our choices.
Yeah. And knowing that the approval comes from the inside out. And like you said, that pull and that connection, and if we're in that mode, that recognition, that awareness, then, the outside trappings kind of, they fall away a little bit. You don't need that quite as much, but it's not easy.
Well, yeah, we've lived from the shoulds for so long that we're kind of stuck in that a little bit. Like if I do this, my parents won't approve. But you're an adult now, so maybe your parents' approval is less important. But it really isn't. It sticks with us.
It really, really, it's interesting you brought that up, because I was really moving in a way that was it was like sandpaper with my dad for a while, because I had, probably, it was before COVID even started. My husband passed in 2012. And then there's a couple of years where you don't remember much. And then after that, you start to redefine who you really are, and I know in that period, because that's when I became ordained. That's when I did all these things, that I didn't go back to teaching. My children were really young at the time. So it was, stay with them, and, all the things that just ran against the paradigm of what success looked like for my parents. It's like, what do you mean you're not going to do a full-time teaching job? What do you mean you're getting ordained in a place that we didn't, raise you in? What do you mean by, all the things? And it wasn't that they love you any less, but you can feel that there's just not understanding, or what the heck are you doing? And I started doing things that I wanted to do, because you're right. The parent thing's always like kind of just right there, whether you want it to be or not. And then he passed in COVID. He died of COVID, during COVID. And, this is going to sound crazy, but I didn't feel the pressure anymore. It's like we've been able to have this conversation since he's passed. However that works, this understanding that there is an acceptance where maybe there, so I think about that a lot, because I don't want my children to have the conversation after I pass to feel the acceptance.
Yeah.
That, but I think some of that's just hard because we grow up a certain way, and then how do you move away from that? And that's, that discovery of self-purpose. And I think people are having it younger and younger too. I think they're having that conversation with themselves younger and younger than what maybe our generation has been able to have it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I'm really impressed with some of the young people and the conversations that we have. And I think there's a level of consciousness that's very different
Mm-hmm.
from when I was 18, 19, 20, whatever. I have a daughter who's 19. And when I listen to her speak, it's like I'm talking to a 40-year-old. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's just really, really clear about people's rights and equity and inclusion and how things should be done in a way that makes it comfortable for everybody. And so it's interesting to have that type of conversation with somebody at that age, because I don't know that I could have articulated any of that.
Yeah, I know I couldn't,
Yeah.
not with a family member, maybe in my history class debate, but there was something about, the biological family that
Yeah.
had that extra layer of, I don't know what it was.
Division.
Division, or something you didn't want to go against or be different than. And I don't see that in my own children. I see them really being who they really are in a way that's, quite lovely.
The principal of my daughter's school took me aside one day. We were chit-chatting, and he said in his 15 years of teaching, he had never seen kids who were as articulate and clear and conscious about social events and things as the group of kids that he was in school now. And I think Genevieve was in grade 10 at the time. And he said, it's amazing. He said, it's like, I can't really argue with them. Genevieve was talking to him one day. One of her friends was being accused of something she didn't do. Or Genevieve bursts into the principal's office and said, "You can't do this. You can't talk to her like that. You can't. She had nothing to do with this." Anyway, she was right in there fighting. And a teacher came to school one day wearing a T-shirt that said "All Lives Matter." And Genevieve went to the principal and said, "You've got to tell him to take it off. He can't wear that here. He shouldn't wear that, period, until Black Lives Matter and Indigenous Lives Matter," and on and on. So it's interesting how the kids are standing up for rights in a different way. And I know her and her friends, they're amazing, actually. And I watch some of the stuff they do, and most of them are pretty clear about their values and what matters to them. And, still dealing with parents who say, "You got to go to university, whether you want to or not," and things like that. But, they're finding their way, and hopefully they find what they really want. Because some of them are just going to school because their parents say they have to. They have no idea what they want to do. And that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, because, you build this big debt up and maybe don't work in it.
Yeah.
So we're going to go to a quick little commercial break.
Okay.
Half hour in. So we're going to have a commercial break, and then we're going to be right back. And you're watching Out of My Mouth on the New Thought Media Network. Don't go away. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. And we're back. So, continuing on this conversation. So, what do you think, in your ministry and in the things you're doing with Bolts of Love, what do you think the most important thing is in reaching people at the moment, given the current reality?
The most, I'm not sure what they need at the moment.
Yeah. What do we need to provide, or what do they need to get from us? Or do we have any idea?
Presence. I'm finding more and more that my job is listening more than anything, and then moving. That's why I like this aware piece because it's a way to move the conversation from victimhood to the life, the world's happening to me, to I am the world and I'm happening. I'm finding that's the biggest, at least for the people that because even the ones that come in their grief moment, strong grief moment, again, it's how do I move forward from here, being me, when being part of me was being with this other person in my life, and how does that look, and how can I still, move forward and have, and to know that that you just need to make a choice, any choice. I think that's the thing, is the permission to just make a choice and know it's not going to be wrong. The biggest thing that's going to happen is you might make another choice to adjust the choice you made to begin with.
I love that. Yeah, because not choosing is still choosing.
Exactly. So I find, a lot of the people that are coming are in that they're afraid to choose. They're afraid to just be themselves. And I don't know that that's just people that come. I think that's kind of like a society thing now. If we really want to look at it, it's like, who are we willing to make a choice for something different and see how it goes, and then know that you can make another choice to adjust it if you need to.
Yeah, I think back to something my parents used to say is, you made your bed, now lie in it. And I go, no, I'll remake it.
Yeah.
I'll make it again tomorrow, or or I won't.
Yeah. And now we know that it's actually healthier for us to let the air get to the bed and not make it all the time. So it's okay to live life a little messy and find how it works.
Exactly. One of the things I've been working with this year is people rather than stuff.
That's why. People. I love that.
People first, everything else second. So I'm working on that, especially at home. You know how it is with husbands and children and whatever. It's like, okay, so how do I put people first when my, husband left the cupboard door open again, or left the toilet seat up, or whatever.
Yeah. So and then it's us as people too. So why does leaving the cupboard open bother me so much? What is that about me that needs the cupboard closed?
It's the fractured skull when I hit it. I'm kidding. But yeah, it's funny things that we find, because I find that irritating. And I'm going, why does that irritate me so much?
Yeah. So that's another exercise we do, actually. Yeah. It's the little things like that. So it's not always the big things. It's those little
rarely the big things.
Yeah. So it's like, and then it becomes the feeling in the heart on that kind of irritation. When else do we feel it? In our present life, and when we were younger, going back, how often did we, not that the cupboard's open all the time, but how often do we have the same exact feeling? And what need inside of us is that bringing up? Well, it's the need to want to be heard, or it's the need to want to feel respected, or it's the need to, so the irritation is really, and then how do we give our own selves that need? And then how do we communicate that that's really what we need to the person that left the door open? It's not that I need you to always close the door. It's that I know I'm working on feeling that I'm actually heard in this house, or that I'm seen.
And it's interesting because as you're talking about that, I figured I now know why it bothered me. It's my need for order. And that just popped into my head as you started talking about it. And I thought, need for order. And I realized that I don't function well when things are all messy or chaotic or whatever. I can't think. I can't function in that. I need to put it in order, and then I can. And if it's not, it's always the back of my head going, that needs to be done. That needs to be done. That needs to be done. And it's this constant thing. And I think it's order. Yeah. Yeah, I love that exercise. I've done it many, many times, but thank you for taking me through it again. The need for order.
The need for order. So then, So how do you get order for yourself? How do you feel that? It takes the bite out of things like the door open.
It does. It does. And my whole thing of people first is changing how I see these things as well. Because what's more important is that I'm loving to my husband than nagging at him to close the door. But I didn't have to do that. I just talked about it at a Sunday service, and that was. He said, "You have to stop talking about me from the pulpit. That doesn't work." It works really well. I say something and it's fixed. But yeah, that was one of the things I did. He just laughs it off. But I think that's really good information, that when we're reacting to anything, if we'll just pause for a second and recognize that whatever's going on, the button that was pushed, whoever's in front of us, they didn't install it.
Exactly. And the crazy thing to think about is we installed all our buttons, all ourselves.
It's all about me. Yay.
We installed it all, and again, sometimes it was when we were young and didn't understand everything that was happening. There's an example I give in my classes that I discovered for myself by just doing this work. It was a crazy memory. I didn't even remember that I was that was in there, but we were cleaning the kitchen, moving things around, and you clean things and you get behind things, you have them for a while, and I found some bugs, and it just was like it set all the "you're a bad mom" things off in me, that there was bugs in the house, they were going to get the kids, and I was like, oh, how terrible am I? There's all this stuff in my house. It's so terrible. And then so I caught myself though because of this work, and I'm like, well, why am I feeling like such a bad parent in this moment? It's everybody's got a thing with bugs at one time or another,
Guaranteed.
Yeah. So and then sitting with that and seeing there's like when I was 10 years old, my aunt, her children, there was a knit problem at school. So, she had to take all the stuff out, put the stuffed animals in the bags, do all the scrubbing,
those days.
Yeah. And I remember standing outside her front door, listening to other adults saying how she couldn't keep things in control, and how, why did she let things get out of hand in her house? And, all those things that adults say,
and they don't know what they're talking about.
They don't know what they're talking about, and they don't know 10-year-olds are there listening, right? So I didn't remember that whole scenario but at that moment I took on, there's bugs in your house, you're a bad mom and you can't take care of your kids. Whether I took that on, and and I didn't even realize it. So, fast forward, then it's like, well, how do I manage that to know that? So that night, the kids and I had a big picnic on the floor in the living room watching TV. Nice. All the things you say you're not supposed to do.
And you'll love that.
Yeah. And I'm like, and we're just going to do the thing, after. Picnic. But, all those things that we take on that we don't even know we're taking on until we sit with our heart and go, well, why all of a sudden am I a bad parent finding bugs while we're cleaning?
Yeah, I love that, because I mean, we all end up with bugs in the house. You know, flies in the fall and ants come out in the springtime, it seems, and there's always something that you're trying to get rid of. But
Exactly.
it's the way we judge ourselves. And a lot of it comes from things that we've heard adults say as when we're children, and we don't really comprehend the full story or full weight of what they're sharing.
Exactly.
Especially those parents who didn't have a clue what they were talking about,
Yeah.
because those lice will actually, they prefer clean hair. So my daughter went through, her whole classroom had a whole epidemic of it, and it was doing all that work. And I, you know, I just laughed because I thought, you know, they'd be interested in dirty hair, but no.
They like the clean.
Very clean.
Yeah. So the judgment wasn't even a fair judgment.
It wasn't even real. It was fake. Yeah, I mean, kids tend to, you know, they'll put their heads together and hug each other, and so lice will just move from one to the other.
Part of life on the planet. We're so, sometimes I think we're so far removed from our nature, we forget just how things really are.
Yeah, I think that's you know, a big part of what's going on is we really have separated ourselves from nature, and what a gift it would be to bring that back, you know, to sit back and take time every day. We just got some patio furniture and stuff, so I've been sitting outside, often working outside, and I really, really enjoy being out on my deck. And yeah, there's mosquitoes and there's wasps and bees and all kinds of little critters falling around, but it just feels really nice to be outside in amongst the trees.
Yeah, they've I think it was Scientific Magazine or Science News. There was a study not too long ago that they talked about the green spaces for people that don't have, like in the urban areas where there's not a lot, and the difference in the moods, and the difference in the illness, and the difference in all these all these factors that we think of as our health, including just being comfortable, and what happens as soon as you are able to get a little bit of green space. And they would take children from the middle of the city to a place and let them be, because the lack of just anything was so detrimental. So I like that that's starting to get a little more traction, and you see people bringing back some trees and some urban gardens, and anything that you can actually touch nature instead of concrete.
Yeah, I mean, I live in a very large city. Toronto is the biggest city in Canada, and but what's interesting about Toronto is we probably have more trees and green spaces than any other city I've ever been in. There, you can't cut down a tree here. You actually will get a huge fine if you remove a tree from your property.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really if there's a tree that's diseased or whatever, you need to contact the city. They send out an arborist. They determine whether or not the tree is sick or what needs to happen. And it's probably a good thing because it's a really big city and there's a lot of pollution and stuff, but the trees really help. And there's green spaces everywhere, like even in the center of the city, right downtown, you can find green spaces, and there's lots of trees everywhere. And that to me fascinated me when I moved here. It's like, wow, it's like parks everywhere. And so it makes it nice for people to get out. And then, of course, we have the big lake, so people can go down to the beach and hang out there. But it really does make a difference having that greenery around.
It does. It's the mental health aspect of it alone. Because, we to separate ourselves, it's almost like, we're messing ourselves up. It's totally take away our connection there.
Yeah. I think that's what's happening right now is we're sort of coming around to, let's find our new
Mhm.
way forward. What does that look like? What does it feel like? But I think connections are so important. And I was talking to somebody the other day, and I can't remember off the hand who it was, but they were talking about, people wanting, spirituality or this or that, but they want more of a secular setting and stuff. They want it different. They don't want that traditional church experience that they've had in the
Mhm.
past. So, I like many ministers sitting here going, scratching my head, going, yeah, so now what?
Yeah. Well, we made ours a little interactive.
Yeah, mine is too. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a couple of spots now that, that we teach each other basically through to
Yeah.
sharing our lives. So, and it's lovely because, we've done it long enough now where people are actually not just sharing like surface stuff, but
Yeah.
what's really in their hearts and what's really going on with them. I know whether it's a grief moment because somebody, has passed in their life, or whether it's super joyful because they were able to do something and make a connection with somebody that they hadn't in a long time,
Yes.
or they just realized the different colors of the sunrise that morning and, wanted to just share that experience, but it's been a huge turnaround, to know that we minister to each other.
Yes, we do.
It's to move from this minister centric system to the idea that, the minister holds presence and knowledge that you can draw on, and that help. But really, it's to offer that presence, so it moves out like in concentric in circles and this waves instead of this pyramid that we've been brought up with.
That's the big change that needs to happen, right? We live in a system that it doesn't serve humanity, our system.
No, no.
Not at all. Not at
No,
all.
cooperation, collaboration is lost when you have a pyramid system.
Yeah. Collaboration and cooperation. That's what I love. We're doing a games night here in November. And so I've invited, I'm the minister of record for Unity Kitchener, but I'm also the lead minister of the Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake. So we're bringing CSL and Unity and a whole bunch of probably 5 or 6 different centers throughout southern Ontario together for a games night online, playing bingo and doing some trivia or whatever. And just, it's just fun. And you get to meet people that you don't normally see because they're from other congregations. There's no charge for it. And it's just a fun night and because everybody's so far apart, you can't really come together for that. Everybody can join online, and it's just it's a fun thing. We've done it a few times and had really, really good success with it. People really love it.
That's the beauty of the video era, right? And the internet connection.
It really is. It really is.
I mean,
Plain,
not so different than the congregation 3 miles up the road.
yeah, yeah. Well, and I think, giving people space. One of the things I do at the end of my talks is to just have kind of a Q&A. If people want to ask questions or want to share insights or just go, it was what it was, whatever they feel like. But I think that really helps too, is when people can have a conversation and talk with each other and go, hey, here's what I got out of this, or tell me more about that because I don't think I understand. And that's why I like classes so much, because they can ask
Especially
questions.
small classes.
Mhm.
I find that, that 10 to 15, and that's comfortable enough where
Yes.
you can have those conversations, and people, feel a little more supported or comfortable or safe to explore those things out loud than in a really big group.
True. And they make connections with other people, which is really, really wonderful. Do you do spirit groups at your center?
Yeah, we don't have the spirit group label, but
But
yeah,
you do the same thing.
there are small groups. I mean, we're small enough where our small group is mostly, everybody at the same time right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we've been trying different topics. Or we have a book discussion coming up this Sunday, and that's actually online, and it's The Ocean at the End of the Lane, which is a fiction book by Neil Gaiman, but the discovery of everything we've been talking about, who the connections really are, how we take on the story, it's all in this fantasy
I love that
book. So we're going to discuss that on Sunday. Everybody's had a couple of months to read it, and then we're going to get together online and talk about it.
Oh, I love that. I love that. I think book studies are a great way to deepen understanding. I have a guest coming up in next month who wrote a book called A Serious Case of the Cants. And she goes through, it looks like a children's book, but it's a bit of everybody book. But just all of the times we're told, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. And getting to that place where you go, okay, enough. Let me find me and see what I can do. So it's interesting to see what she wrote. And anyway, it's a great book. Anybody who wants it, it's on Amazon. Serious Case of the Cants. I'm probably promoting her book more than she is, but it really is a great little book, because we've been told so many times we can't do this, we can't do that, and it's forming those blocks in our mind where as adults we can't seem to push past them. And how do we push past them? I guess, what is it called? Aware therapy.
Awareapy,
That's it.
Letters in there. Yeah, which is awareapy, which is it's getting past the can'ts. That's all. Who are you? What have you come here to express? I mean, if we're divine walking around on the planet, the idea of can't should be nonsensical.
True.
It's
it really is. Yeah.
And then what version of divine do you want to present on the planet?
I love that. Well, we're down to our last 5 minutes.
Oh, wow. That went fast.
It does. I know. I'm always surprised at how quickly it ends. But what I like to do at the end is just ask the question, what do you think is the most important thing that people need to know? Oops, forgot to cancel that alarm. What do you think the most important thing is for people to take away from the conversation today?
That they are the divine walking around, So what aspect? I mean, you have, what did you say? Tenacity,
courage, loving, power.
Yeah. So to find that aspect, what is that you're really expressing, and then express it to the fullest, and what, if you're the universe made manifest, and we are aspects of that universe, then be it. And however, and like you said, people first. I think when we are that, then people automatically come, and then not just people, but like you said, the environment, the nature, the whole idea that the oneness, if we are really expressing everything that we are in full awareness, then we let ourselves feel that connection once in a while. We let ourselves be that connection, and we don't worry about the can'ts or the whatever.
Sure.
I always told my kids, unless you are hurting somebody else or yourself on purpose, you really can't go wrong.
Exactly.
I
like that.
Unless you're choosing on purpose to do a thing, you can't go wrong.
Wow. I love that. I love that. Well, thank you for that. And I think for me, it's, your purpose, you came here with it, you know what it is. You might not be aware. It may not be conscious for you yet, but stop looking at it as your job. Instead, look at it as the quality of life that you're here to bring to the universe, to the planet at this time, because we need it. You're here by divine appointment. That's how I like to look at it. Jenn, thank you so much. You
you,
are
Barbara.
lovely. We'll have to talk some more. And I hope you have a most wonderful day. And for all of you who watch, thank you so much for being here today. You're watching Out of My Mouth on the New Thought Media Network. And if you want more information, just go to info@ntmedia.org. You can donate there as well. We are a nonprofit. And you can also like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Thank you for being here, Jenn. And bye, everybody. See you next time.
On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network, come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe.